Going live here. This is Hannibal from thehannibaltv.com with my daily wrestling news update. It's actually an update from the Combat Sports News yesterday as well, because there just wasn't that much interesting going on over the weekend as far as the wrestling world goes. Smackdown was back down to a 0.5 rating this week. Dana White, the president of the UFC, has commented on Brock Lesnar's free agent status, saying basically that Brock has not reached out in any way to Dana White, and he feels that Lesnar has enough accomplishments in MMA that returning might not be an option he's interested in right now. So yeah, that answers everyone's question. Could he be going to UFC? Of course, Lesnar has not re-entered the USADA testing pool yet either. I did conduct 3 interviews today. One with Glow Original Hollywood, one with British female superstar Heidi Katrina, the British Amazon, and one with a Russian YouTuber called Kazania. And she's a very interesting person, kind of knowledgeable about the wrestling business, also a part of the independent wrestling scene in Russia. And she lives quite an interesting life. Merd says SmackDown's doing worse. Well, they were at 0.5 for months, basically always hitting 0.5. Then for a couple of weeks, they got out of 0.5. Now they're back. I think they got out of it in a couple of weeks following SummerSlam. Scott Romer, the wrestling photographer, by the way, sent me a copy of his book. I'm going to read it. His life on both sides of the camera. He was a wrestling photographer, and his book is available on Amazon, or you can get an autographed copy if you look him up on Facebook. Of course, he also was a boxing photographer and still is a boxing photographer. Josh says he likes when I interview Amber Nova. I'm sure I'll eventually interview her again. Last Sunday, it took a while to get her on, but when we got her on, it went well. The feedback was great. Speaking of future interviews, Jazz was supposed to take place yesterday. She's rescheduled to Thursday. Outback Jack, I have finally tracked him down. Tuesday at 5 p.m., I am doing an interview with the legendary Outback Jack, who I'm very curious to get his side of the Bulldog ribs, because apparently they just tormented him. Then there's also Teddy Long. I'm not sure what day exactly that's going to happen next week, but it will also happen next week. Always working on a lot of interviews. I'll get into some of your comments. Michael says he likes my interviews with Road Warrior Animal. Beater Car, what's the most popular food in Canada? Well, in this part of Canada, people like poutine, which is French fries with gravy and cheese curds on top. That might be the most popular, like local, if you want to call that local food. You can also get that at McDonald's and Burger King, but they have like the French fry stands where you can get it, and particularly in Quebec, it's really good. Sean Wood is excited that Supernatural is coming back in October. I've heard of it, but I know nothing about it. Would I do an interview with Alita? I'm guessing that's what you mean by that. And yeah, I would, but she made a lot of money, and she seemed to save her money well. Double S, did Redcon 1 ever send me any supplements to review? No. That's why I stopped The discount code still works if you go to thehannibaltv.com, but I guess you need a certain amount of people to use the discount code for them to actually send you the supplements. So I don't know exactly how much you need, but I've been continuing to buy my own supplements and drink my own coffee. I did a great chest workout after my interviews this afternoon, and I'm going to go out and run tonight. So I'm drinking my coffee here before I go out for my run. Master Mike, any chance of interviewing Paul Roma or Phil LaFon? Paul Roma asked for more money than almost any wrestler has ever asked me for an interview. So that kind of, if he can get that from someone, go for it. I know he appeared on Steve Austin's podcast. I doubt he charged Austin. Now, I understand that to do an interview with me, he'd want to charge me, but the price he's asking for the format I use, putting them out online for free. And as far as Phil LaFon, I think he lives in Alberta. He keeps to himself. Tiffany says he always heard Outback Jack was tight with Hulk Hogan. I've also heard that. I'm going to ask him about that. Malik Long loves my channel. What's my favorite interview? There's many, too many to talk. And of course, check out our 3 interviews from today. I was happy with them. A lot of people, it has almost 10,000 hits. The interview I did with Kimona Wanalea earlier this week too. Which, by the way, why is it that every time I interview a girl, I get so many comments from people saying either I didn't hit on them enough or some comment related to dating them? Like, it makes absolutely no sense. I am an interviewer. I am a fan of female wrestling. These are interviews, and I try and be professional as I can on those interviews. MRF tipped me in $19.99. Thank you, MRF. And he says the interviews I did with Kimona and Danny Davis were great. Danny Davis was the best heel referee. Danny Davis, another one that I just did, and that one has a lot of views too. I think over 10,000, like in a week or two, not even 2 weeks. So thank you, and all of your tips help. Those interviews are not free, and every little bit helps. Actually, Jimmy Valiant I might be interviewing next week too, speaking of other interviews. Thank you very much for the tip. Sean says, have I tried to ask Flair for a shoot interview? He's under contract with WWE. He just re-signed with WWE. And at one point, actually 2 years ago, at the Rhode Island Comic-Con, I was there covering it. You can check out my interview with Scott Hall that day, Zeus, not to mention a lot of celebrities granted me interviews. What's his name? 123 Kid. Sean Waltman also gave me an interview. But Ric Flair would not do an interview with me, not even like a 2-minute interview. Gene Simmons, or not Gene Simmons, sorry. How did I get these two mixed up? Dee Snider from Twisted Sister also gave me an interview there. Diamond Dallas Page did, but Ric Flair told me no. So I tried, guys. He wouldn't do it. Maria Davis tipped me $5. Says I have the best shoots. Thank you, Maria. I really appreciate your support. Ivan Santos is looking forward to my Outback Jack interview. Richard Mins, how is grappling, kickboxing going? It's locked down here still. I have my training in the basement that I do in my fighting room down there. But I'm a reporter. I figured that out. I would fight for the right amount of money. But the amount of training it takes to fight professional and me being 37 years old right now, I think I better stick with what I'm making the most money at, which is interviews. And Barlight Broker tips me $2 and says it's nice to see me start lifting like Warlord. I am actually very strong right now. I'm about 280 pounds, and as I said, we had PCO crying because he had to walk 24 hours a couple days ago. He made an interview, but like I run 40 or 50 miles a week at 280 pounds. So I don't see what's so impressive about walking for 24 hours, but whatever, do whatever you can to try and get the publicity, because I don't know if he's still under contract with Ring of Honor or if anything's going on with Ring of Honor. They seem to have the least amount of interest that there's ever been in Ring of Honor. Even NWA has more going for them these days than Ring of Honor, and NWA is kind of fallen off the radar. Guru-hit woo-ha. Can I interview Benoit's son? He is a total dick. Benoit's son is a total dick. He agreed to do an interview with me, I guess. How many months ago was it? It was around the time of Dark Side of the Ring, when the Benoit Dark Side of the Ring came out. He said that he watched my channel and he would love to do an interview with me. Set a date and a time. Never answered me. Got back to me, set another date and time. Flaked out again. He's probably going straight into AEW because Jericho was tight with Benoit. But I lost all respect for him. You can tell me no to, by the way, to people that don't want to do interviews with me. I won't get offended, but don't tell me yes and set a time. I'm actually a busy guy, and I plan my days out to fit everything into my schedule. So if I make time to do an interview with you and I actually research questions and then you just don't show up, I just lose all respect for you. Colonel Quail Piper's well. She appeared in my interview with the Russian wrestling personality today, who I actually think I'll have back. I'm very interested in the culture there, and she reminds me of like one of the Kardashians of Russia. Richard Mins is looking forward to the Outback Jack interview. Dennis says he beat hepatitis C. Fuck Cornette. And that has to do with Jim Cornette actually discriminating against people that have hepatitis C a few weeks ago, referring to me as, quote, the hepatitis C podcaster, which is an insult to anyone that's ever dealt with that disease. It's a potentially deadly disease that took me 2 treatments, and the second treatment that worked cost me over $80,000. There's a lot of people that have it. There's already a stigma about it. So to have pieces of shit like Cornette, who is scum of the earth and one of the most overrated personalities of all time in wrestling, he spins history the way he wants it, but his company was funded by somebody else, only lasted about 5 years. He had no longevity booking for any company. And I'll be perfectly honest, I know there are Midnight Express fans. I was never a fan of the Midnight Express. I was never a fan when Cornette managed Vader. I thought Vader would have done way better on his own or with a guy like Harley Race. So not only is he overrated, but to try and discriminate against people that have a deadly disease when one of the side effects of the medication is depression and suicidal thoughts, for them to hear that negative and have someone actually throwing flames onto the stigma just shows you what a slime ball scum of the earth, shit on the bottom of the shoe person he is. Double S tipped me $10. He likes my Honky Tonk Man, Al Snow, and Baby Doll shoot interviews. I suggest everyone that wants to hear like a follow-up with Honky Tonk Man, tweet to him. Because he told me he doesn't want to be involved in wrestling anymore. I don't blame him. None of us do. But he saved his money well. He doesn't really want to do a follow-up interview, but maybe we'll convince him one day. Kumar says, will I interview Rip Rogers? I have a full shoot with Rip Rogers on this channel that I conducted last year in Las Vegas. He was supposed to do an interview with me last weekend online, but he got called into work. He still works a normal job. So, and Sabrone000 says me having Hep C was not my fault. And that is true. It was proven in court in Canada and the US that I was infected via an assault by an infected person. Abdullah the Butcher, who is a total slime ball. By the way, he has about 20 aliases, and he's been trying to run from paying me for years now. I'll chase him right to his grave. And he might be looking at some criminal contempt charges sooner than later. But whether it's someone's fault or not, don't discriminate against people with diseases. That's just low, and that really shows the type of person he is. But I don't want to talk about him. Say what tipped me $5. What the highest fee I paid a wrestler? I don't really say that type of information because I continuously have to negotiate with wrestlers. So that's not the type of information I like coming out. My highest interview fee was Tito Ortiz, and he did not make that money back from his interview. Jay Smith said my interview with Danny Davis was a good interview. Jay Boy says, can we be real with Midnight Express? One fucker has crooked eyes. The other guy had extensions and a mullet. That's as South as it gets. Well, they were over in the South. They were over in the South. I'm not saying they weren't over, but I was a Road Warriors fan. Like, the Road Warriors are my type of tag team, and Demolition, you guys can hate on me, the anti-Demolition people, but I mean, Road Warriors, Demolition, and Powers of Pain are possibly my three top tag teams right there. And what a great interview my Warlord interview was. Jay Smith says I should track down Slick. He's a reverend. He is a legitimate reverend. And by the way, for the people that want to watch our shoot interviews ad-free, subscribe to our Patreon page. You do help me pay for content on there. I'm not answering these questions. Some of these are rude, but because someone brought up Melina, by the way, even though the Wrestling Observer, Wrestling Inc., tons of wrestling websites reported that she is going to WWE soon, she is denying that. However, we've seen time and time again, wrestlers have denied that they sign with the company and then they show up with the company. Wrestling companies want to be the ones to announce it themselves or surprise people. So take her denying that she's going back as whatever you want. I reported the information because the other wrestling news sites were. And I would suspect it's more likely than not that she'll be back. But that's my own personal opinion. She's not confirming that she's going back. Ty Lord Stevenson tips me $10. Really appreciates my interviews, and he hopes I keep doing them for years. I will. I'll keep doing them until I'm dead. I really like doing interviews, and I will branch out into other domains as well. Screech from Saved by the Bell is one guy I'm looking at interviewing soon. And he was a wrestler too, so it's not that out of line that I'm going to be interviewing Screech, because he was on Celebrity Championship Wrestling. Sean Wood says Finley would be a good shoot. He was always a dick to me whenever I met him as an extra in WWE, and I don't like talking to people that are assholes to me. I always remember people that are assholes, but I believe he still works for WWE, doesn't he? And yes, Regal still works for WWE. Don Morocco's shoot, very possible. So I really appreciate all of your comments and tips. I really appreciate it. And Double S says, I should ask Screech if he ever drank Screech. That's, you know what? That's one thing I'll never drink again is Screech. I've had it twice in my life, both with Honky Tonk Man, and it causes you to go crazy. As Piper must have heard you guys, she's come up to say hello. Thoughts on All Japan Pro Wrestling? Is it still even around? I like the only Japanese wrestling I really liked is the videos I've seen of Brody and Hanson and the Funks. That's pretty much it. A lot of people want me to interview Kenny Bolin. I've been getting that a lot. Maybe. He, back when I was in the Kentucky area a few years ago, when I did my Memphis interview trip and I did Bill Dundee and a bunch of wrestlers, he wanted a lot of money for an interview, considering that. And Victor, I already answered this question. They never ended up sending me any. As Double S says, Piper's super over. Yes, she is. So on that note, have a great night. Thanks for everything, guys.